Okay, let's take a look at this. What we want to do is we're going to change the color and the density of his hat. And very similar to changing the color of a shirt or anything, any object in the image. So in order to do that, what we're first going to do is we're going to make a duplicate of the layer so that we're not messing with the original one. Command J duplicates that layer. That's one way to do it. Or we could just drag this down on top of that plus sign right there. That duplicates the layer also. Command J or that. Either one. And then what we'll do is we'll work on this particular layer. So the first thing we want to do is we want to select the hat. So in order to do the hat, we're going to use this tool up here. It's the quick selection tool. It's the letter W, and sometimes it's hidden underneath this magic wand tool. So that little triangle will expose that for you. So we have the quick selection tool. We're just going to make a brush size a little bit bigger here, and we can come in here and use this tool to just select the hat just by clicking on it and dragging across it. And notice it's not going to be a perfect selection at first. It never is, never has been. And by holding down the Option key, this up here instead of plus will turn to a minus. You will get a negative amount. So we can subtract from that. Get a little smaller brush using the bracket keys. And I'm going to subtract from that area and this area right here. And that looks pretty good for starters. I'm going to add just a little bit into here. We could use the minus key and just kind of swipe across there and subtract it. So we'll do it this way. That way you kind of can see the whole thing working. So we have a selection. Now we're just going to come up to this select and mask option. Pops open another window that looks fairly familiar. Right now we're in transparency, but we'll change it to this overlay mode. Make it very obvious what we've got selected and not selected. And so after we've done that, then we want to use this second tool down right here, the Refine Edge Brush tool, the letter R if you want a shortcut. We're just going to kind of come in here and just kind of where the hair is at, kind of go in and just kind of get that so it looks a little bit more realistic. And we have a few other little errors in here, but I'm going to worry about those later. I want to show you a different way to fix that or change that. So we have our basic selection. The next thing we want to do is export or output this, and we're going to output it not to a selection but to a layer mask. And we'll say OK. So now we have this second layer on top of the original. It's masked out everything except for the hat. So if I turn off this bottom background layer, that's essentially what you see. And that's what we want to affect, is just the hat, right? So the next step is going to be to come in here and we're going to add, we'll change the color of it first. So we're going to come down to this little half circle icon down here, and we're going to select the solid color. And this is where we can pick a color. Doesn't matter what color we'll pick. We'll pick a light blue right now. And we need to change the mode of that to color down at the bottom. So that's right here. It's on normal by default. We're going to come down to color. And there it is. That's the color we want, let's just say. Now we need to clip it. We talked about clipping before. It's holding down that Option key when you're hovering over the two layers. You want to clip this top one to the bottom one. Just hold down the Option key and click, and it will snap it to just this layer, which has the mask, which makes it a screaming ugly blue hat. But for right now, that's a good start. Now, to fine tune the color, we just double click on this icon right here, which shows the color, and we can change this color to kind of anything we want. Let's kind of go to a little bit, it's a little overdone, but that's fine for what we're doing to show you how this works. Now let's say we want to darken it a little bit as well. We're going to add a second adjustment layer. That's, again, this is your adjustment layers. And we can use any of these: brightness, contrast, levels, curves, or exposure. We'll use curves just because it's an option. And to make it darker, all we have to do is click in the middle of this icon and pull it straight down, and it's going to darken. Now we're going to look at just the hat, right? And that's darkened everything. Why is it darkened everything? Because it isn't clipped to this layer. So we have to Again, hover over the spot between the two, hold down the Option key, get that funny little square with the arrow down pointing, click on that, and it'll click it to that. So now it's applying the darkness to the hat and the color to the hat. Okay. After the fact, changing the color is easy. We just double click on that color. Let's say we want to go more of a cute look or something completely different. It's totally up to you. We can actually come in and pick like the color in this bandana and then just kind of adjust it to where it's maybe where we want to go, somewhere in there. So that's that. And then this is adjusting this. You would double click on that little curve and it brings the curve back up, and you can whack it out and do all kinds of things to it if you want. Or you can kind of make the dark areas a little lighter and the light areas a little darker and get a whole different kind of feel to it. Okay, that kind of takes care of everything that we talked about, other than refining this mask just a little tiny bit. So to do that, we want to make sure we click on the mask itself that we want to refine. And let's zoom in. We're going to click on this magnifying glass, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see this up close. See how I missed this area of the hat right here. So all we need to do now is just to get a brush, and we're going to, remember, if we paint with white, it will reveal. If we paint with black, it'll hide. We need to reveal the color in this area right here. So I've got a brush. I'm going to paint with white. I'm going to put it at 100% opacity up here at the top, and I'm just going to paint. Just kind of come in here and just paint along to get that exactly how we want. And we'll move around just to see what else we missed. This is a little bit off. And we got a little up here. I want to subtract that, so I'm going to flip over to black by hitting the letter X. That swaps out those colors. Swap back to X and fill that back in. Fill that in just a little tiny bit. Well, looks pretty good. I think we could live with that, especially from a distance. Kind of make it look like that. Looks good. Hopefully that answers that question for you. Gives you something to practice on.